My name's Redneck Computer Geek and welcome to my channel. A few years back I started a project, and that project was the MTD gas-powered Power Wheel. I started that project based on one simple thing. It had to be A, built mostly from the chassis of a lawn tractor. It had to B, have a pretty much entirely intact Power Wheels body. Couldn't be just the top piece sliced out, it had to be a mostly intact body. And 3, and the biggest point, was that everything that I did on it, I had to build it out of this little stupid 110 stick welder, this horrible little welder from Walmart. And I did. I built the entire thing using a little 110 stick welder. This build, it's going to be along the same premise, except for we're up in the ante. On this one, we're going to be using this welder here. It's a little 110 MIG welder. It is the cheapest one available on Amazon right now at about 120 bucks. And it gets about a 4.5-star review. And if you read down through, it actually sounds like it holds up pretty well. So we're going to put it to the test on this build. So what do we have in this build? Well, if I set this little guy aside, the first thing that we had to do was we had to get both of these machines out of the woodwork, and we had to go and get them pushed into the garage. And we took the F150 Power Wheel here and we tore it all the way down, and we took out the original drivetrain and we called that good because we don't need that anymore. What we have now is we have this here. It is a Duromax engine with the electric start. We're going to be upgrading the air intake on it, and the carburetor we're going to be rejetting so that we have better flow to the engine. The other idea that we have here is we would like to be able to have an actual battery. We want to be able to have actual headlights, actual running lights on the rear, and eventually solid frame on the front so that we can have an actual working winch. I think about 2,000 pounds ought to do it quite nicely. Also, the other thing about the original Power Wheel build is that the original Power Wheel build was a forward neutral reverse transmission. It had a singular forward gear and it had a singular reverse gear, and that's all that it had. On this build, we want to do it bigger and better, as always. So, in underneath where I'm sitting right now, there is a transmission. And if you will humor me with this piece of foam and this pulley, this is essentially the size and the shape of the transmission currently sitting under my rear. Now, your pulley on top spins this direction. So if I keep this spinning this direction, and I flip that entire transmission this way, we still have the same spin to our pulley, which is the same exact direction that comes out of this engine when it's sitting in this direction. And your axles come out of here with your tires right here. My goal is to take the transmission that is in the bottom of this machine, I'm going to port it in the top, and I'm going to port it in the bottom. I'm going to put vents in it and cap off plugs, and then that way I can fill it all the way up to the upper set of gears, because before the gears would have all been on the same plane. But what we're going to do is we're going to make it so it's fully sealed down here so that we can fill it with oil all the way to this point. Now, how do we manage to get it from this engine in the front to that transmission in the rear? If you saw my original build, I ended up building a drive shaft. Now, the original drive shaft setup, we had a coupler that was from a 3/4 inch shaft. That 3/4 inch shaft coupler went to the transmission's upper pulley, and then from there we went through a bearing, through another bearing, and then we had this sprocket on the front. That sprocket, up above it, the engine sat right here, and we had a clutch assembly that came, a standard go-kart clutch that came off the engine down to this and drove the whole thing to the rear. That's the goal with this as well. And what this series is going to be tracking is it's going to be tracking my progress along with when I get it built and I get to run it around. We're going to try and take it to some mud bogs. They do kids mud runs around the area, and we're going to try and take it there this year. So we got one or two things that we haven't quite sorted out yet. One of the things that we haven't sorted out yet is tires. I haven't quite decided what size of tires I want to go and put on the rear. But that's where we're at. It's time for the Ford to get a chance. For all of you Chevy guys, you've had your time to shine. We ended up pulling close to 10 million views, I think, total on the 2 or 3 top videos of the original Power Wheel. So let's see how well we can do with a Ford Duramax this time. Everybody have fun. Leave me comments down below. Draw me up sketches, anything you want. If I think that something you commented is cool, I might even put it in the next video.